She's the office manager.
I'm going to call this meeting the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. We start with the invocation by Pastor Rodney Durandi, Fellowship Bible Church.
Father in heaven, we thank you for being a good and loving and powerful Father. And so we acknowledge you, and we thank you for that we can live in Oskaloosa, such a good place, Lord, in all the ways that you bless us with comforts and security and peace. So we thank you for that. We thank you for Andrew and Shannon Jensen and for the time they spent with us and serving this city, this community. We just pray that you would help them as they settle in Senegal as a family and make them a blessing to all those in West Africa. We thank you for calling them there. Lord, we thank you for our hospital and the health care that we receive here. Lord, we know that you care for the sick and the weak. And so thank you for the health professionals that we have available to us in this city. And so we pray for them. We pray for the Board of Trustees. We pray for Kevin Durandi. Lord, pray that you would give them great skill and wisdom in leading that hospital. We pray for the doctors and the staff there. Lord, help them to do their jobs well, Lord, because we all benefit. We thank you for them. And we thank you for this council, Lord, for placing them in the positions that they do and they hold. And give them wisdom tonight. Lord, help us to all remember that ultimately you're king, you're in control, Lord, but you give us authority. And so I pray that you would give them wisdom as they exercise that authority for our good and for your glory. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Burnett.
Here.
Caligiuri.
Here.
Joss.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Addison. Here. Wallen.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Very good. First item up is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and city council. Asked to keep statements brief, time limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions should be asked of the city staff, the council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so that way concerns can be properly researched and perhaps answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and council only. Is there anyone who would like to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next item is the consent agenda. These are all items that are considered routine in nature and are acted on in a single motion. I did want to draw council's attention to a few items. Item H is the motion appointing a representative to the Housing Trust Fund. Royce Spolstra is up for nomination. And then also items K, L, and M. Item K is a resolution setting a public hearing for the sale of city-owned property at 321 North E Street. The resolution says that it's on February 17th. It's actually on February 18th, the following day. Item L is a resolution scheduling a public hearing to rezone property at 418 High Avenue East. That's on February 3rd. And then item M is to consider a resolution setting a date for public hearing for levying special assessments for nuisance abatement at 322 North C Street. That also is on February 18th. With that, do we have a motion of support for the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Moore.
Yes.
Addison.
Yes.
Wallen.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes.
Caligiuri.
Yes.
Joss.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Gets us into the regular agenda. Item A is a report from the Mahaska Community Recreation Foundation. This is their annual report. Is there anyone here from MCRF to speak to this? Jerry? Okay. Podium is yours.
Does everybody have their report, or do you need one?
We have the black and white version.
You want a prettier version?
No.
All right, guys. This is the annual, so it's a little bit more than the quarterly. It's just a couple of key events I'll mention. We were able to purchase pitching mounds and some new equipment with a grant from NCCF, so we always thank them for their grants. Mahaska County Little League was able to host a state softball tournament this year, so that comes only every several years actually, so we were happy to get the state tournament this year. And we completed the Sun Dome in the summer, so the planets are moving on. That'll be the next step, so the solar walkway is in progress. Yay! Fourth quarter activities. In the last quarter of the year, we did have baseball, football, and youth soccer going on. So Mahaska County Soccer Club hosted 58 games in that last quarter, so they had a good season. YMCA flag football and Oskaloosa football played all the way through Saturday. They played, all the way through October. They played on Saturdays, so it was fun to watch the little ones try to learn football. We are starting for the first time ever next year a 7-on-7 tournament for football, so that's different. It's a non-contact, so a safe kind of way to teach the kids. That'll be new. We had fall ball, and we host that every fall now, so that's a new program. It's been a couple of years it's been going, so we're happy to get another program out there, of course, always. Developmental projects, again, we said the solar walkway is moving forward. We were able to finish the concession stand this year for the youth soccer, so it was wonderful to see a concession stand and bathroom out there in the last place that we still had porta potties, so we like to see that. If you want to open it up, the annual financial report is included this time. Our budget last year for 2019 was, we received $1,373,000 and we spent $1,338,000. So we had some major projects. That's why we had some extra expenditures this year with some of those that we just mentioned. The hotel motel tax is going strong. We got $113,000 last year. So that's the biggest ever since I've been here, since my term. So in the last 13 years, that's the biggest ever. If you look at donations, of course, in addition to our just trying to raise the money and the fees and things, we have donations. Thank you. The city partnered with us this year, so we were able to put $80,000 in to some pavement down at the south end of the stadium. So that was a nice, wonderful project. Thank you to the city. Other donors, we have several. You can see they're all listed here. We have volunteers as well. So I do want you to pay attention a little bit to the bottom of page 3. So we showed with all of our volunteer hours last year, including the coaches and everybody that just comes out there and does, and plus all the people that just help us in every project that we have, 10,531 volunteer hours were given. And in Oskaloosa, there's a value to that at $23.41, according to the independent sector. And so that means that volunteer hours valued this year was $246,530.71. So that's fabulous for the amount of people and it shows you that it takes a village to keep that place going. So I'm really, really happy with the volunteer hours that we can get out there. So thank you guys. On the back, look, we're still getting around 75 to 80,000 spectators annually. So, people are coming in from all around to see the games, so we try to keep up with that so we get a good grip on how many people are using the roads and how many people are coming out and using the fields. So that's what we're looking at. We also have the trail trams in the bottom, and those trail trams are pretty popular now. We're getting to know that people that are bringing their people that have family in or friends in from out of town are starting to ride our trams. So if you look at that, it did say that the riders came from 10 different states last year because people that have people visiting from California, let's go on the trail tram. That's starting to happen more and more. So we kind of like to see the variety of people getting to watch it. So the farthest one this year came from 1,700 miles away. So we want to keep doing that as well. All right. Thank you for our tram drivers, and we are looking for tram drivers. So if you guys have somebody that's retired and just wants to go drive a tour, talk to me. All right. Thanks, guys. Any questions?
Thanks, Sherry.
Quick question. You mentioned the 7-on-7.
Yes.
Is that a high school age type thing?
It is.
And is it a league or a one-time tournament?
So that's an individual that's going to come in and do that. So he's still playing around with all the ages, but it's mostly youth right now.
Okay.
It's more up to high school age at this point. Now, I bet you if you talk to him, he would be happy to talk about something more.
I just know it's real popular across the US for high school type activities.
And it's
Like,
getting more and more, and so we may see him do some more stuff. JW is really knowledgeable about it, and he's good at it. His father was a pro, so.
I was just curious.
He's doing well with it, so. We'll see. I hope it grows. Okay?
Other comments from council? Thank you very much, Sherry.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
Moving on to item B, it's a presentation on code enforcement.
What is it?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
All right, October through December 2019, I believe we are that time of year again. Again, the goal of the nuisance enforcement program, to make more Oskaloosa more aesthetically pleasing for everybody. Working with community members that are found to be outside of the city code to get the issues fixed, get them back within the city code. Excuse me. Ending December 31st, 2019, tried to focus on some dilapidated structures. I had 5 of those total. Those take a long time to come to fruition. We did have some brush piles, a lot more than usual. We had 6 of those. Closed 1 of them. Still got a few more out there yet that are given time to get cleaned up. Hard surface, inoperable vehicles, we did have 15 of those. Anywhere ranging from the redneck rally cars to cars parked on the right of way. Garbage and junk was again the biggest. We had 23 cases of that, 12 of which are closed. Again, takes a little bit of time, to get things moving. And if I have property owners that are actively working on getting the situation fixed, I won't close the case, but I will continue to give the property owners time to fix it. Grass, hard to believe now that we had grass in the fourth quarter of 2019, but we did have 2 of those. And then, we didn't have any illegal burning complaints that I wrote up. Total of 51 cases, and only 24 of those were closed. Again, give people time to get things fixed and resolved. For the quarter, we had, again, a total of 51 cases, 24 closed, 27 of those remain open. And like I said, with the lower numbers that you saw, you see 47% of the violations were closed without city attorney action. That kind of skews that number a little bit with the lower numbers of cases. And then I do remember council wanted to know about the rental versus contract sales. I put that in here. We had October through December, we had 15 owner occupied. We had 15 rentals, so pretty exact right there. We only had 3 contract sales, which kind of surprised me. I thought we'd have more than that. And then other, which is like your empty lots, your businesses, etc. We did have 4 of those, so I'm not just going after lots with houses on them, I'm going after everything. Some corridor projects. This is 614 A Avenue East. You can see on the picture on the left there, we had a big pile of garbage. This came from a complaint from a resident. Afterwards, he did get that cleaned up. This is also a property that we've had a lot of issues with. And this is one of those that is not closed yet, but he is making strides to get it fixed. He's putting up a fence to clean up his property now with other items. 701 South 2nd. This here, when I wrote them up, this was actually, I think, the 2nd or 3rd violation for trash on the deck. I actually wrote on the citation that he had 24 hours to get it cleaned up, or we were going to abate. Next day, you can see he did have it cleaned up. 702 3rd Avenue East. This came from a complaint. You can see a large TV on the front porch there. They got that cleaned up as well. 818 and a half North A. This came from a complaint from a neighbor. It's kind of hard to see. The pictures are a little small. You can see a couch, various debris sitting in the yard, and they got this cleaned up. This also, I cited this property for a dilapidated garage as well. They got that fixed also, so they did a really good job helping out to get that fixed. 313 South Third, this one was kind of funny. Noticed they had the large pile of debris and items sitting there. We were actually on a abatement that morning, and I had this scheduled for abatement in the afternoon. The contractor actually told me that they had tried to get a dumpster at the site, but for some reason, they couldn't drop it off. So I spoke with the landlord. Again, I'm not in the business of writing citations and finding people. I'm in the business of trying to resolve issues. So I actually let the landlord pass on this. The contractor worked with him to get that cleaned up later on that day. So we did not have to abate on that. 722 6th Avenue West. This ended up being this ended up being an eviction. I drove by and my eyes got as big as saucers when I saw that. So I cited those. The landowner or the property owner called me later on that afternoon, explained what was going on. By law, they have to have, I believe, 72 hours for the tenants to grab their stuff. So I let that time pass, and as you can see, they cleaned it up pretty quick. So. 806 7th Avenue East. This was a neighbor complaint. We had a issue with this property, I believe, early last year. They had 3 or 4 vehicles parked in the backyard as an eyesore. Property owner called me. He said, "Hey, they're doing it again. We need to get this fixed before it turns into a big issue." So I went out there later on that day and got the issue resolved for him. Long-term project that we've got going on right now is 1716 A Avenue West. This is the old Spaghetti's building. So we are actively trying to get that cleaned up by whatever means necessary. First quarter 2020 goals. Again, I'm going to try to work on those dilapidated structures. As you can see, the old Spaghetti's building, we're trying to get that taken care of. And then maintain the community relationships that I have built. I know I've gotten a hold of a lot of the landlords in town, working with them. I know which ones are gonna work with me and which ones may not. So it's good to get a relationship with those people. And then obviously main corridors of the city. That's what really makes Oskaloosa makes it or break it. So really try to make that look as good as we can.
Very good.
Any questions from Mayor, Council?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah.
So 47%, I think that's the lowest we've seen in yeah, you're shaking your head, yes. So any reason why you think that was this time around?
I don't have a good answer.
Okay.
Lower numbers for the total citations, I guess.
Right, I mean, so I'm curious, and I don't remember, but so we get the quarterly at the end of March. Will these roll, the 27 that are still open, do they roll into March? Do we see whether these 27 got done? I guess I'm curious what happens in March.
Sure.
How are you doing that?
Well, my goal is to get them all closed.
Okay.
They may roll over into March, and you will see if they're still open. I do keep track of that as well.
So for instance, let's say that one of them is open, it'll show up. I just would hate to lose track of the 27, I guess is my question.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yep, it'll roll over into March.
Okay.
Right.
And then you mentioned the one place was going to do a fence to help himself, but is the fence just to hide the stuff? Is that what he's doing? Is building a fence?
The fence is to enclose his backyard. He does have it cleaned up.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
But the fence, yeah, he's
Okay.
he's more trying to hide it, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
And then you mentioned something that I think folks ought to understand, because I'm not sure I understand it. So you mentioned the 72-hour thing. Would you expand on that for the public a little bit so they understand once somebody throws their stuff on the curb?
from what I understand, if a landlord evicts a tenant, that tenant has 72 hours to collect their belongings
Okay.
by law. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I believe the law is.
And I don't know, I'm not, apologize, jumping in. Quite frankly, I'm not aware of anything in the code that says anything like that, 562. Now, you may be thinking, obviously, if you have somebody with a problem, you're giving them a 3-day notice. So I don't know if that's where you're thinking of. But typically, after you get, have an FED hearing to get somebody moved out of the property and a writ of ejectment issues, you pile things on the curb. By law, you can pile them on the curb. I'm not aware of any statutory time frame that necessarily says they've got so long to get it picked up.
Because there was a big, I had somebody talk to me about something on North Market that
Yeah.
looked similar to the one.
Couple
Yeah,
weeks
you
ago.
saw it too, and it sat there for several days, and I think they were using the same reasoning, is that, well, I've got to give them so much time before I can touch the stuff, and I just didn't know, I guess maybe we need some clarification on that. If we don't have to wait, then we need to not do that. So,
I'm not, I am not aware of anything in 562A of the code that says they've got 72 hours to pick it up. Now, sometimes sheriff's offices may develop some informal
Sure.
protocol for what they're
Yeah.
going to allow insofar as timeframes. But I don't believe there's anything in the state code that affords
Okay.
necessarily a time frame like that.
all right. Well, thank you. So I appreciate what you do here, though, so thank you very much. Keep it up.
You bet.
Thank you.
Making a difference.
Do we know anything more about the Spaghetti's building other than issuing citations?
If I can tell you something on that, that is one I have a conflict on personally to the extent the owner is a client of mine, but that has been referred to Misty. The file on that came to me. We steered that over to Misty White for her to pursue. I believe that she's taken steps to go ahead and file to take title to that as an abandoned property. And the way that typically works, as you may recall from our prior dealings, the legislature changed the code several years ago, and they have some good provisions on that. But you can file to take title to the property as an abandoned property. You have it set for hearing, you noticed up. I believe those are the steps that Misty's taking on that. Now, once again, since I steered it to her, since I have a conflict, I'm not personally familiar with the details, but I believe that's what's afoot there.
And I know we have this on our agenda for our monthly code meeting tomorrow morning as well. So.
Thank you. Great
Thank you.
job.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
We'll build some houses there.
Next up is a presentation on the status of contract operations for the sanitary and storm sewer services. This is being done by the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department. This is a 12-month review of the partnership with the Water Department. You may remember in 2015, the City of Oskaloosa and the Water Department approved the 2080 agreement that specified water would assume operational management of the sanitary and stormwater systems. So, Kelly, podium's yours.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me. The report you see, I think, is almost identical to what you've seen for the last 5 years reporting on it. Green means we're meeting goals, and yellow we're doing some work, and if it's empty, it usually doesn't apply for that quarter. Some look like sludge hauling, we don't do, so we have green or yellow. I put some notes in it along the way, some of my feelings on it. I know they're new with the situation here, 6 months, but it's the operation I'm kind of used to, and I know they're in the beginning for between the city, there was a lot of controversy over it in the beginning. And I'm sure it probably never evolved like anybody thought it was going to, and I think it's a pretty good deal. It works pretty good. We had trouble meeting some of our footages on videoing and cleaning mains. We got a new truck in November, or 1st December. We had a lot of issues with the old jetter truck for cleaning lines, so it really hurt us on footages. And I think that we probably need a more realistic target to hit. I think it was pretty ambitious for the number, for the feet of pipe we got and staffing we got. It was a pretty ambitious number. Most of the other things, we're hitting the mark on. That's one of them we missed. Stormwater inspection and cleaning program.
Which page are you on?
Went from 1 to, I actually skipped to 3 because that was my next one. I didn't have a mark. But we can go through them line by line if you want.
No,
No, there's no.
Okay.
no, don't need to do that.
Appreciate you asking those.
I assumed y'all had read it.
You have to remember, we had a 5-hour meeting yesterday, so, budget meeting.
No. One of the things on the first page, those staffing adequate to meet 24/7 operations. And it's one of the things I've worked on a lot since I've got here, and I think it's better than it has been, is cross-training between water employees and sewer employees. And we have a few people signed up for classes now. It's become more regular with sharing of equipment, backhoe. It saved the water department quite a bit of money. We're able to get the tractor and bush hog from Public Works a couple times a year to mow the plant. And that was a big ticket item we were facing. And I think the more it goes on, I think the easier it'll get. But you have to push it at some point. Yeah, I mean, you have to get people, because people are uncomfortable with it sometimes, you know. And, but that part of it's going good. I think that part's going real well. The stormwater, I'll go to page 2 first. We're working on the NPDS permit renewal. Last meeting, you guys authorized Fox to actually submit it for us. It's taking up quite a bit of time with staff now. We have a 4-month sampling window. And this is probably the most important renewal you're ever gonna have here, because what that permit comes back with is gonna determine what you're gonna build for a treatment plant. So it's gotta have all the i's dotted and t's crossed. And I think we're doing some extra sampling that probably hasn't been done before, but we see a little bit of room to, some improvements on our limits that they may hit us with. So we do have some of these flows in the I&I, and a lot of people are just using less water. Less water going to the plant. Our preventive maintenance programs are pretty good. Manhole adjustment, I know there's a person on A Avenue East that won't agree with me about that one, because he's got one of the planks and he calls every couple of weeks, but, that's all done pretty well. Sanitary sewer inspection cleaning program, that's what I was talking about with the truck, was at Reliable last year, and so we missed a lot of footages on that. And we tied it up with, the phase 2 on A Avenue East, assisting contractors, and, takes up a lot of our time. You think you're contracting jobs out, and, you know, that's just somebody else to do, but it involves staff on a daily basis, at least 2 or 3 people every day. It ties up. Battle and grease program, that's on page 4. That's our checking the grease traps and stuff. That's our wintertime work in sewer. Most of the restaurants. There's actually, besides restaurants, there's some other grease traps usually the car washers do. Page 5. The provided assistance with the industrial pre-treatment investigation. I had to mark that one for 4th quarter, and the quarters are funny because the term, it's like October. I haven't had any discussion with anybody on that. And it's probably something that's gonna rise up again. It's been a topic of discussion in the past. It's a pre-treatment agreement with Boston Foods, and because of our permit renewal, we'll have to have a form signed. City and Boston Foods both will say, we've got an agreement, because DNR, that's for DNR to cover thoroughly, but we don't actually have an agreement other than you meet limits and we meet limits. And their meeting limit's good. I mean, there's no issue there. It runs pretty clean. But it would be nice to have one in effect. I think there's actually a sampler bought that was quite expensive that we haven't been able to come to terms with getting it installed. There's a right-of-way issue, I think, on the alley back there. It would give us a lot better numbers all the time. It's actually better for both parties, so work towards some type of agreement like that would be great.
So where does the responsibility lie for getting the agreement? Is it on us as a city or water, or is it on the Oski Foods, or is it a joint, or?
Well, it's kind of on us because it's our permit. They run under our NPDES permit, I believe, but by the same time, totally need to meet what demands we need to be able to operate within limits.
So the last conversations that we had were shortly after they came here and talked to all of us about complying and getting an agreement in place. We shot them a draft agreement and it never came back.
Okay. It's been a while.
It's been more than a year.
Within 2017.
Yeah.
But we will have to have that, as I understand it, before we
Not
get to.
technically, we'll both have to submit to DNR that we have an agreement. That's what they did before without actually having an agreement in place. But I mean, nothing's happened since. I mean, technically you have an agreement.
We
They're
have
gonna
an
use our sewer, and
correct.
we're going to treat it. And we're going to pick up their sludge, you know. And but as far as a formal agreement or contract, which is customary in most of these deals.
Okay.
Well, we wrote it, we must want it, right?
I think it would be a good thing for us to have. And again, that was when they came in and suggested that they should receive a lower rate
Mm-hmm.
as an industrial contributor, and then we said that we would continue to have conversations about that. We'd look at our rates. The water department was going to look at how the rates are structured, and that work has just recently been completed with the study that we received as well as the water department. But there has been no additional conversation from them to us about it, and there were multiple attempts to request an update.
So I'm sure Fox will be contacting us about it. There's some paperwork that has to be signed by the city and Oskaloosa to submit a permit in order to get it. So we'll probably be hearing a little more about that next few months. But my narrative I've got with it is kind of my observation, what I've seen since I've been here. And this was a good move for the city, like the 2080 and what they've done here. I think it can get a lot better. I think there was a lot of fear in the beginning, and I think some people were still scared along the way, and gloom and doom didn't happen and all that. And the original term's up this year in October, the 5-year deal, and then it goes to a year-to-year basis. And I think that's one of the bigger challenges between that and we have a staffing issue with, I still have 3 city employees that work for me. And things are different. You know, I mean, it's, even though it should be different, the pay scale's a little different, the benefits are a little different. And to me, the way to get it done, to truly have a team, is we kind of all got to be, at least we're in the same jersey, even one's home. Right now, kind of one's home and away, we're wearing the same jersey, and there's feelings of division over it. It's getting better, we mix people up. The city employees that are sewer employees are some of my best people come out and work on water main breaks. I mean, they're there every time. They're dependable, they're good people. What I'd like to see is if there could be a renewal of some type of 10 years, some type of the security for both entities and the workers too. It makes sense to me. And I think it's very doable to transition those people to OMWD employees. And because the pay scales fall within, the range is in the same. You know, we have a merit-based pay system where the cities is more longevity-based. And you have the offset of the sick days. The city accumulates more sick days, city employees do, but they pay out a lesser rate. I mean, it falls in. I put a chart in there. I think the difference on the 3 employees is it's about $19,000 in today's dollars in cash out. You know, so it's not a huge sum of money.
What do those 3 employees think of that idea?
2 are positive about it, and the other one is not negative or positive.
Okay, gotcha.
I think a lot depends on what they see comes out of the deal.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I think it's a ridiculous proposition I think they ought to be grandfathered in. That you shouldn't have to quit the city and then get hired over there and start over. You've been here for 33 years. I mean, surely the 2 entities can come together and make an agreement that makes sense for everybody.
This is something maybe we need to have a study session on to talk about the 28E and about the employee situation.
I'm certainly comfortable with that. I think we have 2 appointees, the mayor and Councilmember Yates, sit as ex officio members on the water board. But I think whatever it takes to get the entire council comfortable with the conversation. Kelly and I have regular interactions and conversations about this, and I certainly support the transition that's being discussed and a longer-term contract with the water department, whether it be 5 or 10 years, but one of those 2 to provide that security. Kelly has stated things are different now, and I would agree. I think there's been some time to see that it can work. In continuity, it's probably time, I guess is how I would view it. And I think long-term, the council gave direction to make this happen because it wasn't necessarily about short-term gains. In fact, it might be a little more expensive in the short term, but long-term, the community would receive, the ratepayers would receive a better product through cross-trained employees and then potentially some savings as efficiencies occur. And again, I don't think anybody thinks we're done with those yet. I think the board members that sit on there from council would agree. We still have a lot more work to do, but Kelly's got to get his feet under him, and we now have some new board members on the water board, but everybody seems to be on the same page, which is very different than where we were when this deal was first signed.
I guess to that comment, I was part of the, kind of the steering committee or whatever the term was of putting the 2080 agreement together 5 years ago or whatever, but then wasn't on the board until the mayor asked me to serve about the time we hired Kelly. And so, I guess my only comment is the last 6 months that I can speak to being, attending the board meetings is I think it feels a lot different in a positive way. And I guess from my perspective, I think you're a big part of that. And I appreciate, the 6 months leadership that you've provided. And I think we have some good things going and we just need to build on that. So thank you.
What they're doing here is a similar situation to what I had, although they were both city entities. We had water and sewer department, and finances just dictated we lost 10 staff members over 11 years. It just was through attrition, but the two had to come together. I mean, water people had to do some sewer work, and sewer people had to do some water work, and it was just, it's how it had to be. And, it took about 3 years to transition, that it was normal. I mean, there's probably some people that probably still don't like it, but it works well. It does. The two things go hand in hand. And, right now, we're short-staffed, one person. I'd like to run the next few months and see if we can run at that staffing level. There's less CIP stuff, a little bit for sewer staff as far as like the A Avenue projects and I&I stuff. And we don't have a big in-house project on distribution next year. Most of our stuff's at the plant next year. For CIP stuff, we contracted stuff. And I think it's a staffing level we can run at. And then, we can both see at least the savings of a half of salary and benefits. I mean, it'd be pretty substantial money. And I think when your sewer improvements are done is when you're going to see most of your efficiencies after you're not building all the time. Yeah. It seems like you have to spend big money every month.
Yep. Any other questions or comments for Kelly?
Kelly, by this written report, and I've only talked to you a couple of times, but the first time I talked to you, you're going to get us there. And I'm hoping your team members appreciate that, and I think they do. But the fact that you wrote it down and see some of those issues, the workforce issues, I hate to admit it, but I thought we were past a lot of that, and especially with looking at you here. But anyway, it's good that you recognize that. And I just want to say a couple of instances. I watched the water leak, main break by the Mahaska Drive-In Midwest once, and that was a big deal. And you guys put it all back together in record time. It looked like to me. I mean, I was there and looked in the hole. So there was a lot going on. Recently, we've worked with Jason. Mm-hmm. And he was very customer oriented. Yeah, I mean, returning calls and willing to help for anything.
We needed community outreach in our department. I mean, it was the first thing I saw when I got here. To interact better with the citizens in the community, and these are the people we work for.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
So thank you.
Well done.
All right. Any other questions?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Gets us to item D. This is to consider a resolution accepting the bid and approving the conveyance of city-owned property located at 610 D Avenue West of Rhonda Hockey. So on December 2nd of 2019, the City Council held a public hearing and approved the sale of real property located at 610 D Avenue West of Rhonda Hockey. Subsequently, staff discovered the resolution for this item had an incorrect legal description. The document's been corrected. However, a hearing must be held again in order to complete the record and properly convey the property to Ms. Hockey. And so as a reminder, the property is zoned LI, which is limited industrial. Doesn't meet the minimum lot requirements for redevelopment. The minimum bid price was set at $500. Bids were received on November 4th of 2019 from two adjacent property owners. Rhonda Hockey was the highest bid at $4,002. And so staff is recommending that the property be sold to Rhonda in accordance with the city policy. She's the highest bidder. And so I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would care to speak to this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion accepting the bid and approving conveyance of property to Rhonda Hockey for $4,002?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Coniston?
Yes.
Wallen?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Russ?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Okay, get into item E. It's a resolution levying a special assessment against private property for cutting and removal of weeds by the city of Oskaloosa in accordance with Title 8, Chapter 8.20 of the City Code of the City of Oskaloosa. This is going to be a public hearing, so this is the time for the public hearing on levying the special assessment. It's one property for $250. Certified notice was sent to each property owner, and notice was published in the Oskaloosa Herald. And if approved, the property owner has 30 days from the time of filing with the Mahaska County Treasurer to pay for the weed cutting in the city clerk's office. After 30 days, it'll be assessed to the property taxes with a payment schedule of 9% interest. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who cares to speak to this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion supporting the special assessment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Russ?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item F. This is to consider a resolution authorizing the submittal of a request going to the Iowa Department of Transportation for converting A Avenue and South Market Street from 4 to 3 traffic lanes. In the explanation, the City Council at their meeting on August 6th of 2018 approved a 2018 traffic study for the corridors of A Avenue, which is Highway 92, Market Street, which is Highway 63, and South 17th Street, also known as Highway 23. One of the improvements recommended in this traffic study was to convert the major corridors of A Avenue between Highway 432 and the east corporate limits and South Market Street between 2nd Avenue and 16th Avenue from 4-lane to 3-lane cross-section. The 2018 traffic study listed the following benefits for a 3-lane conversion. Number 1, reduction of the total number of crashes and their severity. Number 2, reduce the crash potential by removing left-turning vehicles from through traffic lanes. Item 3, vehicles from side streets can comfortably enter the mainline roadway because there's fewer lanes to cross. Item 4 was the new center left turn lane can be used by emergency vehicles. We saw that demonstrated yesterday. Number 5, improved pedestrian crossing opportunities because there are fewer lanes to cross and possible median pedestrian refuge area. And number 6, removing the heavy vehicles from the gutter line decreases the rate of deterioration of existing pavement. Staff would like to note that North Market Street from A Avenue to Glendale Road was previously converted from 4-lane to 3-lane cross-section. This 3-lane conversion was a significant improvement to the safety that resulted in a 55% crash reduction and a 64% injury reduction. So in order to continue with the process for converting A Avenue and South Market Street from 4-lane to 3-lane cross-section, the Iowa DOT requires City Council approval. If the council approves this resolution for the conversion to a 3-lane cross-section, the Iowa DOT will seek to program this project for future funding. And so staff is recommending the council approve the resolution authorizing the submittal of a request to the Iowa DOT for A Avenue and South Market going from 4 to 3 lanes. And then in the budget consideration, the traffic study indicates an estimate of $63,000 for converting A Avenue and South Market from 4 to 3 lanes. There will probably be some inflation, but if these expenses are programmed in the Iowa DOT plan, then the city may be eligible for federal funding on this. So with that in mind, do we have an emotion of support to kick this thing open?
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion.
Yes, when we talk about programming for the Iowa DOT, and I guess I'm thinking about the bypass, that was like a 5 to 10 to 20-year deal.
Right.
Does that mean this is on that kind of same timeline?
No, this would be a different programming within their specific budget within the district. In our conversations with the district engineer and their staff, we talked about, okay, is the city going to do this? That was their question to us because they said, okay, if you're ready to roll, we'll get this thing done. And I looked a little surprised when they said that. I said, so you're paying for it? And they said, sure, we'll pay for it. And then one of the staff members kicked the engineer and said, he goes, well, wait a minute, we'll submit it through our program budget and we'll see if we can get some funding for it. Point being, it's not the longer-term DOT 5-year plan.
Okay.
It's something that they would submit, so it could be local safety funds within the district. And it could be an 80-20 split. That's what we're still trying to understand.
Okay, this still includes A Avenue West, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we've talked about this. I still have a concern. I like North Market. I think it works. It takes some training on how to use that middle lane so people can get out there and go where they want to do. But I'm still questioning there at Wendy's and Wendy's and McDonald's and Taco John's, Taco Bell. But I know when we talked about it before, and I'm just repeating for everybody, the comment was made, okay, if it doesn't work, it's striping and signage that would have to be changed. So it's not the end of the world, but
So basically.
everybody's gonna have to go learn to drive around the block.
Well, that's what's already happening anyhow. Pretty much, everybody's taking A and B, or B and C, even today, and then this goes to 3-lane, that's what's gonna happen. So you're diverting traffic over to residential areas. Yeah, I totally agree with the 3-lane, but on A Avenue, especially the west side, I think the risk is gonna go up more in regards to accidents. That's my feeling. South Market, no question. That should have been 3-lane.
How about east?
East, yeah.
You okay with the east?
Yeah.
Can we have, if Joe and I were right, can we cut this up like that, or you can't?
Well, I asked prior, the last meeting we had about this, that when this gets submitted again to council, that we divide the two as separate projects, but it's still on one. I brought that up, but that's okay.
Did the study looked at that specifically, didn't they?
Yeah, they looked at,
And the study indicated it would still be safer from the professional's opinion.
correct.
Yeah, I don't doubt the safety.
No, I don't either.
The
It's just-
convenience I'm talking about. And it's just like, we just went through a summer of redoing A Avenue. And there was a lot that people driving around those other blocks, and those people aren't used to that much traffic. And this will be a lot less than that, because that was all the time it was closed. But at lunchtime, it's gonna be busy.
And it's not only lunchtime. I travel that road a lot, and even on the weekends, sometimes it gets pretty busy. But I remember when the DOT was here, they also mentioned, well, we can try it, we can paint the lines out there and try it, see how it works. If it doesn't work, it goes back to 4-lane.
Well, that's what I was trying to repeat. They said that,
Right.
and it was like, okay. I mean, I would guess there'll be some dollars to that, signs and striping, but
Yeah, I guess the thing they mentioned in here about that center left turn lane being an enhancement to safety. I was driving heading south on North Market when there was an accident that had been outside of town on north of Oskaloosa, and had an opportunity to witness the sheriff's cars. There were 3 deputies and then a fire truck and then an ambulance, all using that center lane as they were heading out of town. And boy, that was really convenient for getting traffic out of their way, that they had a clear line of vision. And I'm thinking about how that would probably benefit emergency vehicles wanting to go west on A Avenue as well, that it opens things up quite a bit more.
Well, I agree with that. There's pros and cons on this.
well, it should work on 4-lane if people get their act together and get out of the way.
If they can, yes.
But this still is, I'm sure the DOT is gonna, when this gets submitted, DOT is still gonna look at A Avenue again. Not just come out right away and start painting lines.
Right, we're still gonna have to submit a request to them. We'll give the resolution, and we'll have a meeting with them to talk about the next steps.
Right, because like when we saw the report on the accidents, okay, we had these many accidents. Well, that's fine, but how many of those accidents could have been prevented if we had a 3-lane? That study wasn't done.
So in the packet, Keelish provided some additional information that talked about some of the existing 3 lanes within the different districts, and so he highlighted for the council some of the similar situated communities or maybe even scenarios. I just want to point that out. So the DOT does keep track of this stuff from the point either before and then after.
And I've seen this on their site.
And then I did want to also point out, if we want to, we can spend a couple minutes watching this video again, but we did watch that the last time, so I don't necessarily want to repeat it if you don't want to see it, but we do have that pulled up and ready for watching if you want to see it.
Did I make this up, but we got feedback, Spellin already did it on Oskaloosa Street. Didn't we have feedback from them that they thought it was going well, or did I make that up?
I haven't heard any negative comments from the staff there, or Keelish, I don't know if the engineer, Public Works
Okay,
Department.
I might have made it up. Or we might have talked about asking them, because they just did it last summer.
And there's a column in there that's AADT. What does that stand for?
Average daily traffic.
Yeah, something like that.
You can stand up there. If you want to talk about it. He is a traffic engineer. You should probably let him talk about it.
I think overall, I mean, I'm like Tom and Joe and probably a lot of other people that the A Avenue West from, I think it's E to G, you know, right there within a block either way of the railroad track. There's concern about what happens with people waiting to turn into Wendy's and McDonald's and Taco Bell, Taco John's, that whole deal. But I think on a larger scale, the benefits of it far outweigh the potential issues that we might have. And I think in Ames, you've got a center lane it's a 5-lane road.
Well, yeah.
You got a center lane with 2 lanes of traffic in each way, and it, unless there's an athletic event, it flows really well.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more establishments on Duff Avenue than we have on A Avenue.
As I recall, I only had a couple calls back when we first started talking about this, and it kind of got everybody talking about it. And I think somebody helped me share that DOT website with those people, and I never heard back. I can't say I heard back either way, but they did. I don't know. I mean, the video is pretty good. I mean, if you believe the video, it convinces you about the safety and that it will work.
Oh, that's no question. I mean, it is safe. But the nature of A Avenue, especially on the west side, and the way our traffic behaves here, we just got to do it to see if it works. If it doesn't work, oh well. What can I tell you? Send them back to driving school.
Get your paintbrush out.
But that's the other thing too. We got to take into consideration. Turn that to 3 lanes, and then you're going to have more traffic. And this is more so for local residents and people who visit Oskaloosa, who work in Oskaloosa. But newcomers to town, they're not going to know any different.
Yeah.
But B West and C Avenue East and West, they're heavily getting trafficked right now also. So.
Yeah. I think there will be a significant number of drivers who want to turn, if they're headed east at the intersection of North Market and A Avenue West. If they're headed east and wanting to turn in that intersection to go north, there's been a lot of times that traffic gets balled up because the person in front of that phased green arrow, the person in front says, I don't want to turn left. And so I think that'll take away some of the frustration of going through that intersection by having that dedicated turning lane. So. Other comments? Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item G, it's to consider an ordinance amending Oskaloosa Municipal Code, Chapter 17.36. This has to do with floodplain management regulations. The National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, is a federal program designed to reduce future flood damage through community-based floodplain management. Communities who adopt and enforce a floodplain management ordinance receive access to affordable NFIP flood insurance protection for their property owners. Oskaloosa became an NFIP community in 2011 and has 2 properties within the city with flood insurance policies. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources released an updated statewide model ordinance and recommends that Oskaloosa update its ordinance by adopting their new model. Ordinance meets all state standards and meets or exceeds the minimum federal NFIP standards. Communities are allowed to adopt higher standards if they want. Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on December 3rd and recommended unanimous approval of the attached ordinance. Staff concurs. Do we have a motion supporting this on its second reading?
So moved.
Move. Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
I want to thank Sean. He sent out, and he sent it to y'all. It was very good documentation. Just to point out a couple things, he does say if you hear otherwise, but we're gonna hear otherwise after we do this, but, and I was a little concerned when it said we couldn't share who the customers are, who the citizens are that have to do this, but then later on you said you had a positive on that, if I believe. And there's only two, is what you're saying.
Only two.
And then the bottom line is really the kicker. At some point, we will become non-compliant under the NFIP and lose access to the federal flood insurance. So, you can't win. Thank you. You did a good job, John.
Thank you.
Other comments? Roll call, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Calgery,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Okay, next, in item H is an ordinance amending Oskaloosa Municipal Code, Chapter 13.08, Section 13.08.570A to be exact, sanitary sewer fund or the wastewater department. It's an essential service provided by the city. The service is an enterprise utility fund, and as such, the revenues generated through the rates have to be spent on the operation of the utility. During the city council study sessions on November 18th and December 16th of 2019, consensus from council was to proceed with a funding scenario to increase utility system revenue by 8%. In addition, the city council indicated support to modify the revenue stream generated by the sewer utility. The system receives revenues from customers in two ways: a monthly minimum charge, which is the base rate, and consumption, which is a utilization rate. The current split of revenue received by the utility is 27% base rate, 73% utilization rate. The split in revenue generated is expected to move to 28% base rate and 72% utilization rate with this item's proposed action. Ultimately, the direction provided to staff is to achieve a revenue stream of 30% base rate and 70% utilization rate within the next couple of years. This type of modification will provide a more stable source of revenue month over month for the utility to take on the upcoming debt that's associated with planned treatment facility upgrades. So as noted in previous public meetings, the city's infrastructure, specifically the sewer system, is facing critical failures, and the need for expensive improvements due to age, deferred or minimal amounts of maintenance, and treatment mandates received from the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and the Environmental Protection Agency. As a result, over the last 5 fiscal years, the sewer system, at the direction of the City Council, has embarked upon multiple system designs, studies, improvement projects, and operational changes. All of the required work and some of the operational changes have come at a very sharp cost to ratepayers in the form of significant rate increases year over year due to the compressed schedule to complete the work. Staff is recommending approval as presented. You can see the grid as far as what the rates would be going forward. Do you have a motion of support?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments on the second reading of this? Roll call.
Ross,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Wally,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
No.
Okay.
Calgery,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Gets us to the end of our regular agenda. Reports from city staff, city manager, anything?
Mayor and Council, nothing to report, but I wanted to thank you all for attending yesterday's budget meeting, study session for almost 6 hours. So again, it's a big deal for all of us as staff and for you as council to go through that exercise and provide us input and direction for the next fiscal year. So again, thank you for your time.
Thanks for putting together a very organized meeting. City clerk, anything?
no, sir, thank you.
You were there too, so thank you for being there. Okay, city attorney.
I wasn't there, but
Yeah,
but
I-
nothing, thank you.
We'll consider you there in spirit or something to that
Next
effect.
year, Dave.
Okay, moving on. The city council members, if you have any reports regarding the various boards and commissions you're on, or any other comments.
No, sir.
Bob? Okay, Joe?
Nothing?
Diane?
Well, just thanks to everyone that clears the streets for us. We've got more snow coming in, so thank you in advance for tomorrow.
Scotty? Okay. Doug?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Tom?
As Michael pointed out yesterday to us, we had our budget afternoon, evening meeting, and Michael's comments always be that this is the one most important thing that we do. And I'm just urging the public, you know, it'd be a good time to pay attention if you're interested, before we pass it all. So, I mean, you know, I think it's a good budget, it's a budget we have to do, but if you're interested, now's the time to look at it and comment. Thank you.
Steve?
No, sir.
Okay. I only had one item I wanted to mention, is that we have exit issues coming up on this coming Saturday at Smoky Road. The topic of conversation will be mental health and the way that it's taken care of in Mahaska County. I'll be the MC for that thing. There will be free coffee involved. No, I'm not paying for it. That's coming from Midwest One Bank.
muffins?
I'm not even paying for muffins. Although, I could talk about McMuffin Drive on one of our maps.
That's
Now
all
that you
right.
mention it.
I don't think I'd bring that up.
So, but anyway, all are welcome. 30 at Smoky Road this coming Saturday. With that, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll move.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.